So Joe Biden's White House is doing something strange. They said that they were going to be more lenient on marijuana, and apparently they are, about 1 to 2 inches. So let's break it down for you guys. According to Daily Beast, dozens of young White House staffers have been suspended, asked to resign, or placed in a remote work program due to past marijuana use. Oh my God. Oh, and look, I don't know if anybody's been fired over having a Coors Light back in 2017 or 2007, but that'll probably be next because this is scary times, man. So let's see what else is in this disastrous plan. Daily Beast continues. The policy has even affected staffers whose marijuana use was exclusive to one of the 14 states and the District of Columbia where cannabis is legal. Oh, great, they got fired for doing something legal. Okay, sources familiar with the matter also said a number of young staffers were either put on probation or canned because they revealed past marijuana use in an official document they filled out as part of the lengthy background check for position in the Biden White House. They, of course, made the mistake of being honest in Washington. That is a mistake you usually do not recover from. So then we continue. In some cases, staffers were informally told by transition higher ups ahead of formally joining the administration that they would likely overlook some past marijuana use, only to be asked later to resign. Oops. Okay, just kidding, right? Like, oh, come this way. Oh, you smoked back in '87. Obama did it too. Who cares? Oh, I got you. You're fired. What? What in the world is going on? So former White House staffer said this to Daily Beast. The policies were never explained. The threshold for what was excusable and what was inexcusable was never explained. So now they gave this weak sauce explanation that I'm gonna get to in a second. But I want you to understand the overall rules, because Biden thinks he's being lenient by not finding anyone and everyone who's ever even looked in the direction of a plant that's green, right? Oh, broccoli, back in '80s, no, gone, right? So the current rules are for the FBI, an applicant can't have used marijuana in the past 3 years. Okay. At the NSA, it's only 1. Are they not merciful? The White House, however, largely calls its own shots. And the shot that they called is, yeah, no, we're gonna fire you guys. Now, Jen Psaki, the spokesperson, says, oh, look, only 5 people were fired technically for this. She doesn't say how many were never accepted in the first place, which is the majority of the problems, because they fill out the application and then later they go, psych, you filled it out and said you once did marijuana. Why did you bother having them fill it out? Why were you trying to hire these folks? This is so stupid. They explain, no. They say this decision was made following intensive consultation with career security officials and will effectively protect our national security. Oh, thanks God. While modernizing policies to ensure that the talented and otherwise well-qualified applicants with limited marijuana use will not be barred from serving the American people. So, again, I'm gonna give you the background on Biden and why he's the worst on war on drugs in a second. But in this particular case, help me try to understand, what are they doing? I mean, what's the point of this half measure?
Well, if you have these junior staff members, at these entry level positions, too busy eating Doritos and Twinkies, and not saving us from ISIS, you could have disaster on your hands, Cenk. That's all I can think of. I can't understand this level of, just puritanical, authoritarian approach to staffing the government, while we're having every single state damn near be like, look, we're done criminalizing this weed thing. We've established that it has medicinal uses. We've established that it's much better for people than the crap that the pharmaceuticals companies are peddling. We've established all these things to be fact. It's not even theoretical anymore. But yeah, the Biden administration wants us to think that these kids might have too many edible brownies.
Yeah, and Rashad, look, this is also a civil rights issue. It's not that black folks smoke marijuana any more than white folks do. They smoke at the same exact rate. Just coincidentally, of course, blacks happen to get arrested 4 times the rate of white people for smoking marijuana. And yet we have a Democratic administration with a black vice president who won because of black voters, now telling us they're gonna continue to be draconian, but only 90% draconian of Trump on this marijuana issue with their own staff.
Yeah, this is quite sad. And let me be very clear, the administration is effing up on this one. Let's look at what you just brought up as a civil rights issue. Yes, marijuana use is statistically the same between black communities and white communities. However, there's something called prosecutorial discretion. And the first prosecutor is the cop that shows up at your door. And if that cop says, listen, it's just minor marijuana, we're not even going to arrest you for it, just calm down, take a chill, let's drive you to another location if there was an incident, then that person never gets charged, that person never gets arrested. But statistically, the black person will see a judge almost every time in that situation. Let's also talk about how ironic this is and hypocritical this is. You mean to tell me that President Barack Obama can be president, but he could not have been a junior White House staffer? You mean to tell me that Bill Clinton could be president, but under these rules could not have been a junior White House staffer? And this goes back to the institutionalism of Joe Biden. Remember, he's old wine in a new wineskin. That's what he is. And he's desperately trying to figure out how to be a leader during this time. On something like this, he needs to sit back and let others kind of figure out who are progressive, figure out how this policy should work. Nobody should be penalized for having marijuana use. As a matter of fact, the moral of the story is, if the government asks you to fill out a document and they're requiring you to submit information about prior drug use, lie. That's the only moral of this story at this point. Because this is what happens when you have to fill out something that you feel empowered and safe because they have lured you into this false sense of security and they have campaigned on this new reality as it relates to marijuana use in America. And all of a sudden, we see exactly what we see: an institutional approach that bears no weight in how a person actually performs their job at this level.
Rashad, that is such a brilliant point about Obama and Clinton. I had not thought about that. The hypocrisy.
Don't forget W, Cenk. We got put W in there.
W was doing something a whole lot more than marijuana, brother.
That's right. That's exactly right. Look, I pointed out the hypocrisy of those elitist presidents of both parties, but connecting it to this issue, that's right. Obama couldn't have hired himself as a low-level staffer.
Exactly.
It's insane. It's insane. Now, to W, every report says that he used to do coke, tons and tons, and not like Coke Pepsi. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real, okay? And so now you're telling me, but Joe over there or Bob smoked marijuana like 3 months ago, and that doesn't qualify. Oh, get out of here! And so the hypocrisy. But speaking of which, now Joe Biden, during the campaign, when his son was brought up, said, "Don't judge him," because he had some serious drug issues. And I agree with Jesus, right? Man. But now he's turning around and judging people with far less than not even any issues.
Yeah, and I was really proud of Joe when he said that about his son, because that to me, that's the human approach. That's the compassionate approach. That's the approach that you and I and everyone else here would take. And I was proud of him in that moment, not proud of him in this moment.
That's exactly right. But the problem is Joe Biden a lot of times acts like a Republican. Well, if it happens to me, then I've got empathy, right? If it happens to you, not as much empathy. In fact, that brings me to who started a war on drugs in the first place. And believe it or not, the factual, correct, empirical answer is Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Okay. So now Nixon had a huge role in it, no question about it. And then it falls into a little bit of a lull. And Joe Biden then pushes first Jimmy Carter, then Ronald Reagan. And Reagan won't even sign the draconian bill Biden co-authored with Strom Thurmond. And he says, no, Reagan says it's too right wing. And then Biden pushes George Bush Sr. to sign the bill. Now, let me give you some context with a brilliant story that The Intercept did. They explained Biden helped lead the push for the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986, which lengthened sentences for many offenses, created the infamous 100-to-1 crack versus cocaine sentencing disparity, and provided new funds for the escalating drug war. Eventually, with his co-sponsorship of the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988, his long sought-after drug czar position was created. These and other laws lengthened sentences at the federal level and contributed to an explosion of federal imprisonment from 24,000 people locked up in 1980 to almost 216,000 people in 2013. And David Stein, who wrote the piece, also explained in 1989, Biden criticized President George Bush, that's H.W. Bush, anti-drug efforts as, quote, this is Biden's quote, not tough enough, bold enough, or imaginative enough. The president says he wants to wage a war on drugs, but if that's true, what we need is another D-Day, not another Vietnam, not a limited war fought on the cheap. So Biden was the guy who started this war in the first place. And now we're hoping against hope he's the one that ends it, because at the bottom, forget the staffers, just legalize the damn thing. What do we have? What kind of insane conversation are we having?
Yeah, it's the Democratic Party freaking just hypocrisy just distilled. This is supposed to be the party of compassion. This is supposed to be the party of normal, everyday people. These are young people who are like that. They're interested, talented young people would be interested in service at all. Should be applauded and should be encouraged. Instead, like I'm supposed to believe that smoking a doobie is the end of the world. I can't believe this.
Yeah, Rashad, I'm gonna give you the last thought here, but this pace of change is too gradual. It's not even a tranquilizer. Ironically, with war on drugs, they're using the tranquilizing drug of gradualism, as Dr. King said, on this level of change. So, are we ever going to get a Democratic Party that actually takes action?
You will. You will eventually get it. But here's what may happen. You're going to have people so irritated by the process of gradualism, by these massive promises, and then the under-delivery of those massive promises. The Democratic Party itself is going to transition into a whole new party. Thank God. And let's be very clear about why we're here in the first place. Bill Clinton significantly slowed down the progression of the Democratic Party. When he got elected, he became the moderate of moderates. All right, there was a time when bipartisanship was actually a decent word. It's not during a time of unprecedented tribalism in politics, the party of no, no, no. And I want to remind everyone, that stimulus check that millions of Americans are getting, those unemployment benefits that are extending, the Senate didn't give you that. Democrats in the Senate gave you that. Republicans didn't want to give you that. And there are some Democrats that really didn't want you to have that. And until we get rid of those individuals, we will never have true progress in this nation. We need something done, and we need it done in a massive way. And Joe Biden, he's dragging his feet. He's trying to work with the other side, and this is not the era for that.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.